Def Jam. Def Jam.
Okay, roll the drums.
You'd love the crossing. In Pattaya, this is an awesome ministry. Many, many young people have come to know the Lord and been baptized in water, been set free from drugs and the kind of family addictions and habits that we see so rampant in the children that grow up in this godless kind of a society. You know, when you think about that, this couple that God would bring from Pennsylvania to minister to these young people, it just brings joy to my heart because we see people actually being touched and brought back in to what God had originally planned for their lives, even though they have no other way of ever finding, ever discovering a destiny in God. I mean, can you imagine what it would be like growing up in this city? Your mom most likely is a prostitute. You were born out of wedlock. And, you know, your mom's got to keep working. You grow up as a child without anybody to look after you. You're running in the streets and you get involved in all of the same kind of stuff that your mom and all the other children are getting involved in. It's just part of the culture here. To come out of that and to come in to an experience with Jesus and the light of the gospel and to be able to establish biblical foundations in your life. I mean, it's from black to white. It's from darkness to light, really. And it's not an easy transition, but we see the glory of God, the power of God being released through His anointing on people like Matt and Angela.
Well, the reason that we wanted to have a youth center in Pattaya, I think the main thing is when we moved to the city, we began by just trying to go around and kind of meet with teens or whatever. But the thing is that there's not really a place for them to hang out at. There's not, there's just nothing to gather youth together in the city. There's a lot of bars. There's a lot of snooker places that have, you know, drinks and beer and things. There's a lot of malls, but there's nothing just for youth. If we opened up something where they could come, but there wouldn't be alcohol, there wouldn't be drugs, there wouldn't be anything like that, but it would just be pure fun. Just have games that they like, have clean music playing, have just a place where it's just safe to hang out at, where they could come and feel at peace and feel like, hey, this is my place.
Well, when we first opened up here, when we first started, it was just Angela and I. That knew the Lord. No other teenagers knew the Lord. And the ones that were coming, about 95% were on drugs. You know, every night there'd be guys getting drunk all the time and stuff like that. So it was really, it was a place just of darkness that all we thought was it was darkness. But we knew that God wanted to bring His light there. And so the first 4 or 5 months, it was just, we were just there, you know, and people would come and they'd doing marijuana, and then they'd come out of the back at about 10:30 and play some more ping pong, you know, and then go home. And that was it. That was the extent of the ministry. You know, we were, you know, writing home and saying, yeah, pray for this guy, pray for that guy. And we knew in our hearts what God was going to do, you know.
A lot of them were interested in Jesus. It wasn't to the point where like they were like, no, we don't want to hear. So a lot of them were interested in it because they had never heard about Jesus before, most of them. And so they kind of were like, oh, that's cool. But then they would say, yeah, I want to have a better life than this. I know my life is, you know, just bad. But then when they would try to change their life, they didn't have Jesus. They would just kind of try to just, okay, I'm going to do it. And then they would just always fall back in a month or so. So it was kind of like, it was hard at first because like we would have a few guys interested, yeah. And we'd be like right with them, praying for them and stuff. And then a month later, they would be back where they started, you know, because Jesus just they hadn't given their lives to Jesus. They had just tried to do it on their own, you know, strength. So it was very difficult the first couple months.
Basically, what we felt, we knew that God wanted us just to be like a mom and dad there. You know, even though we're not old, you know, but we wanted to just almost be like that, the parents, you know, as they skateboard, you know, just watch, encourage them, you know, clap, you know, just a guy, how was your day? You know, how's it going? They have a good day, great. A bad day, okay, what's wrong? You know, can I pray for you? You know, just little things, you know, just that they know, you know what, we care about them, you know, God cares about them.
I just love
being here.
If you come to VBCI,
long hours in the hot sun.
This kind of experience is awful.
This is extreme mission.
You have what it takes.
So do we. As you can imagine, growing up here doesn't give much hope to a teenager, and all of the trouble and so on that they fall into. Statistics are the odds are against them, really. And Waan, has quite a story about his life and the way that he came to know the Lord, really, and discovered a destiny and a purpose for living.
For the youth of Thailand, the road to Christ is not easy. Waan is one of these youth. As a result of Waan's father having been married twice, Waan grew up in a very troubled family.
When I was young, I had two mothers, and I always had to move around because sometimes my mother would kick me out of the house, and I had to go stay with my other mother. Then my other mother would send me back again. When I was about 12 or 13 years old, I moved as far away as I could to get my education. My school was close to Pattaya, which is why I ended up here in Pattaya.
Growing up in Pattaya, Waan faced many temptations. Drug pushing and drinking was impossible to avoid.
It is hard for every young person because it is very close to you. All we have to do is just reach and it's there. It's a bad thing that many foreigners would come just to find sex. Back then, I did many bad things. I smoked marijuana, I drank every day, and I was not a good person at all.
Waan was empty. His drinking and bad attitude resulted in him being fired from his job. He had nothing left. God was his only way out in those times of desperation.
I first heard the gospel when I was about 20 years old, from Matthew Lutz. I finished my schooling and didn't know what to do. At the time, I had no ideas, so I chose to follow God. At first, I had no reason to believe in Jesus, but I wanted to give God a try, that's all. I used to think that if I tried God for only a couple of months and I didn't like it, I could go back and work or do something else. But after I tried God, I realized that God is real. He is perfect.
2 months after accepting Christ, Waan enrolled in YWAM.
Before, I would drink and smoke pot every day. I want to thank God for bringing me to know Him. It's good because before, I was in darkness, but now I'm in the light of God. One thing that I had been praying to God for was to come and work at this place so I could talk about God to all my friends. Here in the crossing, I do everything. I talk about Jesus, I play guitar, drums, I sing, I do anything I can.
Waan experienced darkness in his life. He knew what that life was like. There was only one choice now. Move forward from darkness to light.
Some of my friends feel like I left them. Some don't talk to me at all. But nothing much happens. I just try to be their friend. I just keep trying to show them that I would not go back and be the same like I used to. I'm going to have a purpose in my life. When I watched The Passion of the Christ, the scene that Jesus got whipped on his ribs, I felt a lot of pain there too because I also have a tattoo on my ribs of the lashing. And it just keeps me reminded. So when I go through hard times, I would look there and think of Jesus.